Hello, everyone. Welcome back to This Truckin' Life, where we go deeper into the life of a truck driver, an owner-operator, or a carrier to understand their journey, what motivated them towards their career, and what advice they might have for others in the industry. I'm Ashley, and today Aaron and I are joined by Craig and Ann with Logistics ATV. We are so excited to have you here today. This Truckin' Life is brought to you by FreightWeb, a company focused on building the best carrier optimization suite software for carriers and owner-operators of any size to help them run a profitable and efficient business. To learn more, check out our website at myfreightweb.com/carriers. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of This Truckin' Life. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to This Truckin' Life. Today we have Craig and Ann from Logistics ATV. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here today with us.
We're glad to be
Hey
here.
guys.
Hey.
Thank you for taking some time out of your day to have a little chat with us. So we definitely appreciate it.
Yeah.
You guys look pretty comfortable over there.
Well, our day's over now.
Yeah.
Just
Oh,
about.
that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
All right. Would you guys mind going ahead and telling us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, well, our current business, Logistics ATV, which stands for Around the Bend, is we're a dispatching service. We were team truckers for 8 years, and when we decided to get out of the truck a couple years ago, our sixth grandchild was being born here in Chattanooga. And we were on a trip back home, and Ann said, "You know what? I'm done. I want to be home with the kids." So we had to make a quick change, really. At that point, I held on to the truck for probably 6 months because I was not sure that couldn't get her back into it. I really did enjoy it, and I went to work for a buddy of mine as a broker, and then she started. Some friends of ours who owned a compliance company had some of their clients who they were dispatching, and it was eating them up because they didn't have time for it. It was 5 or 6 trucks, and so they asked Ann, because we had always dispatched ourselves for 8 years, and so they asked Ann if she wanted to dispatch these guys because she wasn't doing anything but playing with grandbabies. So pretty much.
Okay.
And
Don't get in trouble there, Craig.
I'm in trouble all the time. Anyway, so she started doing it, and it kind of exploded to the point that I quit. I quit the job I was doing with my buddy, which kind of, he was frustrated with me, I think, because he had some big plans for what we were doing, but this was our thing, and it's just gone really well. ATV stands for Around the Bend because the Moccasin Bend, which on the Tennessee River, is right here as you come into Chattanooga, and we lived here 6.5 years, but just instantly it was just home. And so when we come around Moccasin Bend into Chattanooga, it was just like this great feeling every time.
You knew you were home.
So that's
Oh.
that's what it is.
So,
That's
So-
really cool.
Yeah.
So
But-
how long did you guys drive before getting into what you said, the brokerage and then the dispatching? How long were you guys on the road for?
8 years as a team.
8 years. We were company drivers for U.S. Express for about 1.5 years. The whole thing started as a joke. Well, bad joke. I made a joke about, where's the number for that truck driving school from the old movie Stripes, and we were both really frustrated. I was traveling 100% of the time on airplanes, and we were just really frustrated. And so I made a joke about becoming a truck driver, and she goes, "Well, if I could take the dogs," and I did not for a second think she was serious. And then a couple months later, I said, "Seriously, what do you think about becoming truck drivers?" We knew nothing about truck driving, nothing.
Yeah.
And she goes, "Well, serious, if we could take the dog." We had 2 little Chihuahua, we have a Chihuahua and a Min Pin. And so I said, "Well,
That's how you buttered her up right there with the dog, huh?
we started researching it, and there was really we couldn't find no information at all. It was just like there's nothing out there, especially for teens, for a husband and wife team.
And for women. It was
Yeah.
all the guys knew everything, but for women, it was just, there was no things that like girls want to know.
Yeah. So we went and got our CDL. We went and got, signed up to get our CDLs, and actually stopped by a truck dealership to look inside a truck. We'd never seen the inside of a semi-truck. And got our CDLs, and we looked at only company drivers that we could take our dogs with us. So that's how we ended up at U.S. Express, because they specialized in teens and they had a pet policy. And our oldest son lived here in Chattanooga, where U.S. Express was headquartered. So we thought maybe we'll see him with our only children at the time. And so maybe we'll see him more, you know, in the grandchildren lab. And the second one was on the way.
We had one at that time.
Yeah. And so, so that's how it started out. And we, after a year and a half, we always knew, I owned a bunch of businesses and had always been an entrepreneur. I mean, so we always knew we wanted to become owner operators. We just didn't know anything about trucking. And I've never bought or started a business I didn't understand. And we probably weren't ready after a year and a half. We thought we were, you know, but we went out and bought our first truck, and we actually leased on. We didn't get our own authority. We leased on with a company here in Chattanooga that was self-dispatched. So with, you know, Bill and Lauren Hood, who owned the company, and it was a self-dispatch company. And that's how we kind of learned it from. You know, I always wanted that because we didn't want. I'm doing all the talking.
Yeah, that's okay.
We didn't want.
We can talk.
We didn't want a dedicated lane. We have family and friends all over the country. And in my old life, you know, in the corporate world, I mean, I traveled I had 76 salespeople, and I was literally on airplanes all the time. And I've been to every great restaurant, every fun thing to do all around this, almost every baseball stadium. And so, I mean, we didn't want.
When we did trucking, we weren't the typical truck drivers, because we would go places, we would park the truck, we were stuck someplace for a weekend. It's like, okay, well, what can we do in the area? You know, what restaurants are in the area? Where can we go? And we would like, you know, at the time it was like you'd take a cab or rent a car.
Yeah, it was just before Uber.
You know, and then when Uber came out, it was like awesome, because we'd be like, okay, well, you know, who's getting married and where do we want to go? And I mean, we've been to every wedding, every graduation, every event.
Wow. And this is all being under U.S. Express's authority.
No, that was for the first year and a half. But even when we were with U.S. Express, we went to the last space shuttle launch. It was always a dream of mine to see a space shuttle. Actually, originally Apollo launch, but it was always. And she actually, and I kind of tried to back out of it at the end. I said, it's Florida. It sucks to get out of there. Let's, you know, we were company drivers. It wasn't a money thing. It's just
right.
And she said, you've always talked about this. We're going, and it was an amazing experience. So, but that we went to see. I'm a huge baseball fan. We went to see Ken Griffey get inducted into the Hall of Fame. And if somebody says, hey, we're getting married in Phoenix next June. Well, not June.
We did actually. We went to some weddings in Phoenix.
Yeah, but I said, we're getting married next March. You come. I said, yeah, somebody will pay me to drive there. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
we'll be there.
Wow.
It was easier when we were owner operators, because we didn't have to ask anyone for permission.
Right.
Exactly.
Express, we had a great relationship with our fleet manager, and honestly, I don't think we ever were denied anything that we, you know, because we'd run really hard, and then, you know, when it was time to take off, they had no problem with us taking
We had
off.
a great relationship with our fleet manager because we never once had a service failure.
Yeah.
So was it more like when you guys were looking for work and looking for loads, was it more like, I kind of really want to go over to this area, so I'm gonna look for a load into that area? Or was it like, okay, we got a good load here, going over there, let's look into see what we can do while we're there?
A lot of it was family driven. A lot of it, you know, I grew up in Seattle, and, you know, Ann lived in LA for 22 years. And so and then, you know, again, I've got family in Wisconsin. We have family and friends all over the country. So a lot of it was that, where, hey, we're going to Seattle, and we would book. We have a son who lives he played football, and that was really cool. I had a son who played college football for Colorado State, and we went to so many games. We'd book a load. You know, he's playing in a bowl game in New Mexico. We'd book a load, you know, through Albuquerque, you know, and get to go to his bowl game. It was just awesome. It was just an awesome experience.
We honestly, if we had to go somewhere, we would look for that location. But the rest of the time, it was honestly what would make us the most money, because we just wanted to run. You know, we just would think thought outside of the box on those sort of things. You know, it's like, okay, well, we went up to Maine, and I was like, why are we going to Maine? We had just come out of Key West. We'd actually gone on vacation with some friends, some fellow truck drivers. Went down to Key West, parked the truck at a truck stop, and in Fort Pierce, and went down for the weekend. On the way out, it's like, okay, well, there's this load.
Well, it was May. It's the only month of the year you can make money out of Florida. We got $2.30 a mile out of Central Florida to Maine.
Wow.
You know, and so it's just, but it's the only month of the year you can do that.
then we went up and had lobster rolls.
But it's about, honestly, it's running the truck. I mean, I'm a research freak, and I used to, in my past life, I used to work on Wall Street, and I'm all about data. And so, and it's the same as when we're dispatching our trucks here in this business. I mean, we're looking on Monday morning, we're talking about where do we want this truck to be on Friday, because assuming that the driver's going to stay out over the weekend, your week's going to be good or great depending on what happens over the weekend. So what's really important is that you don't, and on Wednesday or Thursday, you're still thinking about, somebody calls with a really good load, but it sets you up for a horrible Friday. We had an example this morning where it was a load it was a really good paying load, but it was going to put them in upstate New York on delivering at 4:00 on Friday afternoon.
Oh.
It honestly doesn't matter how much it pays, because you're costing, at least for a solo driver, you're costing me at least $1,500 to $2,000 in revenue for this truck, because he's not going to move over. Now, maybe we'll get lucky and find something, but it's about making sure you're in a good market and unloaded in time to get reloaded, on a Friday. And that makes a huge difference in the profitability of the truck. And if you're not going to be home, you got to be making money or doing something you want to do. I mean, we used to park. One of the reasons that Chattanooga was so awesome for us, and I lived in family, and it's the center of the freight world. I mean, we are literally 2 hours from Atlanta, 2 hours from Nashville, 2 hours from Knoxville, 2 hours from Birmingham.
Right.
And I mean, so much of the world's freight happens in that 300-mile radius.
Right.
And so we'd come home and kill her. We're going to be home for a week. I promise.
Yes.
And then on day 2 or 3, I'm sitting looking at the load boards, and I've got the truck posted. She goes, "What are you doing? Posting the truck?" I said, "You have something on." And somebody called me. I had this happen a Friday night at 9:00 at night. Phone would ring, and it'd be some broker say, and they want us to deadhead 300 miles to South Carolina to pick up.
Holy moly!
We're cheap, right? I said, "Dude." I said, "There's a football game on, I'm watching, or I'm getting ready to watch football tomorrow morning, or whatever." I'd make up any excuse, to be honest. I said, I'm looking at a bottle of Jack Daniels, and once I open that bottle, I'm not available. Okay. So, one drink, I'm not driving the truck. So I said, you got to pay me. If you want me to drive, you got to pay us. I mean, and we never, one of the things we did, because we built great relationships with brokers, even when their backs are to the wall, we didn't push hard. We took what we thought was a really good rate, but we wouldn't try to screw the broker. Honestly, I mean, we want them to remember that, because when things, you saw what's happened over the last 2 months. Now we're out of the truck now, but it happens both ways, and we know that's not reciprocated a lot. But we wanted to live with ourselves. So I remember that guy. I said, I want $2 a mile from here. It was a load to Laredo from South Carolina. And I said, and there's not much freight out of Laredo right now. So after we figure out $2 a mile from here to pick up to Laredo, you throw an extra $500 on it for my deadhead out of Laredo. I don't know if I'm going to have to or not. And he said, okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so we were okay. She was actually okay leaving. But it's just,
right? You're good.
We actually had a load in California. I think it was a holiday or something. It was right. We were getting ready for Thanksgiving, maybe at my mother's house.
Oh yeah, it was Thanksgiving.
And I had a call from a broker, and a guy we
dealt with a lot.
I do not want to go. He wanted us to go back up to Washington. We had just come down. It was supposed to be a weekend. I said, I do not want to go. And they called, I think, 8 times. And every time I said, no, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. And
the same guy.
And finally, I was like, Craig, you deal with him. I'm not dealing with him. And he goes, well, what would you do it for? And it was like a 1,000-mile run, I think. And I said, I'll do it for $3,600. Because thinking there's no way you're going to give me $3,600 for this load. And he goes, okay, you got a truck. And I was just like, are you kidding me?
It was an Amazon. We had the deadhead. We were in Yucca Valley, California. We had a deadhead up to Sacramento to pick up this load. Yeah. It was an Amazon fresh load, so it had to go. The 2-hour delivery stuff, kind of. So because in Seattle they I don't do that check.
But that was the funniest. That was one of the funniest ones. So I was like, "Are you kidding me? I
Or-
do not want this load."
Or the time we were laying in bed and the phone rang at 4:00 in the morning.
That's true.
And I won't say what the brokerage is, but anyway, he goes, "We need you to pick up an empty trailer in Chattanooga, take it to Atlanta."
Yeah.
I said, "No, I mean, it's 4:00 in the morning, dude. I'm like, oh, I'm home. I'm not doing it." So I hung up, and 10 minutes later, he calls again. And the third time he calls, he goes, "What do you need?" And I said, "It's 120 miles." I said, $1,000. He goes,
What?
"Okay, I'll pay you an empty trailer. He goes, "I'll pay you $1,000."
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
So we got up.
So glad she didn't.
Wow.
I got up.
Nope.
Holy
Yeah.
moly.
Like, honey, I'm getting up. I'll be right back.
Wow.
It happened a lot. Let me
It
tell
happens a
you.
lot as a team.
No. My home time did not
Oh.
end up always being home time.
I went out solo quite a bit.
He would be.
I just can't sit.
So would you guys take turns driving and
Yeah.
and that's
Who
gonna
took the day shift?
I did day shift.
Well, it started out noon. It started out noon. She can't drive nights.
Oh, hell no.
So she would.
Heck no.
So she would drive noon to midnight. That's how we started, and I would drive midnight to noon. I'm a sports fanatic.
Yeah.
So my first thing, I'd wake up about 11 o'clock. I'd say, "So did we win?" You know, because I can't. I'm not listening to any Mariner games. I'm not listening. I'm the Seahawks. Huskies. I'm not listening to anything I care about. Kind of thing. And so finally, I said, "Okay, we're changing the shift. I'm 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. and you're 7 a.m. to 7 p.m." And that worked out really well.
It worked out really
Because I can drive. I don't mind driving nights at all. So it was fine.
right.
well. So
That's cool.
I will.
Yeah, that's awesome that it worked out for you guys, especially to start off in trucking and to be where you are now. And
Oh my
I
God,
mean,
I'm so
I mean, did it take a toll on the relationship at all? It's a good time.
Living in a 60 square foot apartment is super.
No, we are blessed. Let me tell you, because there are people that all can't imagine, but we actually get along really well. We always have. We've always been together 24/7. We fight like the Dickens. Oh my God, people laugh at us. Our employees laugh at us because it's like I call
Because you're
it.
mean.
I call it bantering.
Because you're mean.
I am not mean.
But just not satisfying slamming the curtain in a truck.
Yeah.
When
Right.
you're mad. And so there's no door to.
Well,
And
that-
you can't even go that far either.
and when you're mad, it sucks. But we had we actually did a blog when we started because we were talking about how we couldn't find out anything out about trucking or just anything. Like I knew nothing. I mean, when I got in that truck, my dad had a joke about
Says you're putting my gently reared daughter in a semi truck.
I was born overseas. I was blessed. That's one thing. But my dad just still is like can't get over that I drove a truck. But there was really you knew nothing. Like I didn't know anything about like what do you do when you go to the gas stations and how do you feel like it's little.
Right.
And she called it gas.
Gas. I did. I got it gas.
Yeah.
It's taken me a year and a half to go back. I talk about how we're going to stop and get fuel just because it was easier.
Right.
Okay, well, how do you use the your loyalty card? Or my first time in a shower at a truck stop was probably one of the most hysterical things because I just could not figure out I didn't want to touch anything, and I was trying to figure out how to put stuff without having to touch anything. And by the end, you're just like, whatever.
Well, you watch them. They sanitize it.
They do. But there's things like, so we started this blog and
It blew up.
kind of blew up. And we got calls from, when I was with my trainer, Craig got a trainer first and he left me in Dallas by myself.
At the corporate headquarters.
At the corporate
headquarters.
Not corporate.
Yeah.
And I had to wait for a trainer and they didn't have one. So I ended up taking a Greyhound bus to Chattanooga. We will talk about Greyhound buses one day. So I come to Chattanooga and they still don't have one for me. And I end up going to Atlanta to stay. Our daughter was about to have a baby and she was like 9 months pregnant. And I was like, I need to just, I just felt, I needed to go somewhere. So I went to Atlanta. My best friend lived in Atlanta and stayed with her until my trainer came and picked me up at a hotel in Atlanta. Never met this man before. Turned out to be a very good friend.
Awesome guy.
Great trainer who I actually referred people to afterwards that were having issues with their trainers. And so it was really interesting. And then you'd get the calls and people, mostly women would call me to what do I do? And, my husband and I are doing this, or, and I would be, I'm a talker. So I would talk. And just try to help, because it was just, that was the big thing.
Yeah, we had thousands of people following the blog, and we still have the blog. We just don't update it hardly ever. But it's and especially it got really big a couple times. One time she tagged somebody in Chick-fil-A, and so all of a sudden tens of thousands of people because it had a Chick-fil-A tag on it. It was hilarious. But then we had a whole bunch of new viewers from that. But then the big thing, and then the most interesting load we ever did was we actually ran a load for Joe Exotic.
Oh yes, I heard that you guys.
We didn't know who he was.
Or ran a load for him. Now, tell us a little bit about that.
All the people in that show were involved in it. The Doc, the weirdo, the guy in South Carolina, he's the one who paid the bill. But it was a wild animal park in Bar Harbor, Maine that was going bankrupt. And they hired us anyway to come. We had to drive. We were in Chattanooga. We had to drive to Wynwood, Oklahoma, pick up the trailer they had with the cages and stuff, and then take that up to Bar Harbor, Maine, and we loaded up a lion, 5 tigers, 6 wolves, a bobcat, and a raccoon. And the raccoon was the nastiest animal on the truck, period.
It was the coolest load.
The wolves were scared to death of the raccoon. They were all cowering in the cages.
The lion was my absolute favorite. His name was Hunter.
But everything, it was really interesting watching that documentary, here a couple months ago. In the first 2 episodes, it was really nostalgic for us. Everybody, we met almost all those people, and Joe is portrayed exactly how he is. He's a very charismatic, nice guy. They're making him a little crazy.
I don't think he's as crazy as they should.
Now, is it true? Did he always have cameras following him?
Yes.
Yep. They had cameras there, cameras up. We have all kinds of videos and stuff on the blog, but cameras up in. They took the camera crew with us to Bar Harbor, Maine. He flew in for that and met us there. And we took zookeepers with us in the truck, which was interesting.
It was way cool. It was a great experience.
Awesome kid.
It really was.
But it's sad.
And we got to feed baby tigers.
Oh,
how cool! Yeah.
How did you guys get on that load?
It was on the load board. Actually, we were with Farm to Fleet here in Chattanooga, and we were the only team they had. And it was early on. They only had about 16, 17 trucks at the time. And one of the solo drivers had seen the load on the load board and called and says, "You guys need to bid on this. It's a team load." So I did it through the broker, and then the broker, and we booked it, had the signed rate con and everything, and the broker emailed me back about an hour later. And I'd already told everybody we're hauling wild animals. It was pretty cool. And then he said, we lost the load. Shipping Wars wants to film it. And they've talked them into doing it. And I said, I went onto the website of the zoo. I looked it up. And I sent just to the contact us email. I said, have you ever seen the show Shipping Wars? You're going to trust your live animals to these people? And I was a little angry. And then Joe responded to me. I won't say, but basically he said, "Screw Shipping Wars. You guys have the load. Call me." And so I told him, I wasn't trying to screw the broker out of it. The broker had lost the load. I said, in fact, I told him, he says, we wanted to do it. We didn't know anything about it, we didn't know what it was. But I said, I'll do it for the rate I agreed to with the broker. So they'll save you guys money. You don't have to pay I'm not trying to kill the broker here, but I'll just, this is what I told the broker we'd do it for. We'll do it for that rate. And so they agreed to it, and it was quite an experience.
That is so cool.
And you didn't know anything about Joe Exotic before?
Oh no, but they gave us the tour. We were in his house.
But we saw the behind the scenes. Those animals, when we saw them,
really well taken
were beautiful. All the animals, everything was just pristine.
We got a whole behind the scenes tour, and we were very, very impressed. So I don't know what happened.
Was that before Jeff Lowe showed up, or after Jeff Lowe took over?
It was a couple of months before Jeff Lowe showed up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it was pretty incredible when we were there. We were quite impressed with it.
That's really cool.
Super cool. So what else? What other stories you got to tell us? What's really been some downturns you've had during your experience in the
mechanical? Our first truck we bought. It was used. It was a used truck, but it had 450,000 miles on it, and something like that. And we bought the truck, and 2 months later, the engine melted down. We're on a load down just north of Houston. There's
Okay.
and the engine just died. We pulled over and there's oil all down the side of the truck, and
Wow.
it's
Oh, no.
fuel in the oil. Feel something. They never figured out what actually happened, but it cost us. We've been owner operators for 2.5 months, and we had to pay $25,000 for
Put a
it.
new engine.
Wow. I was just talking to a carrier this morning, and he was talking to me about how one of his trucks on the side of the road caught on fire.
Yeah.
And he's having these issues with the insurance company because he paid like $40,000 worth of insurance for this tractor in case something happens. But now insurance is saying, "Oh no, you only had about 15. It's only worth 15,000."
That's horrible insurance. Our
Right.
insurance-
But he was paying for $40,000 worth of insurance. Like, pay the man, you know. But yeah, so he's dealing with that.
We had a truck that jackknifed in a snowstorm. And there's no such thing as a freak snowstorm in Wyoming, but it was March 31st, and it just went from 45 degrees and heavy rain to, I'm not joking, in 6 miles, went from 45 degrees and heavy rain to 7 inches of snow on the ground.
Oh my God.
We were in Cheyenne. It wasn't up in the mountains, which of course Cheyenne's at 7,000 feet, but we were, and we're on the freeway and we're doing 30 miles an hour behind a snowplow, and the snowplow pulled off into downtown Cheyenne, the main street there, and I couldn't follow him. And there's no place for me to pull over. I'm doing like 30 miles an hour, and the truck it was right at 32 degrees. So the snow was packing in just to a sheet of ice. And we were not even 200 yards past that exit after the snowplow pulled off. And we just started to slide, and nothing we could do. And the truck, it hit the Jersey barrier and bounced out and then jackknifed. And it totaled our truck. And
Wow.
Man.
and
threw me out of
yeah,
bed.
threw her out of bed. But it was pretty bad. But it totaled the truck. And once the cab, once the sleeper cab gets damaged, it's just because it's all the way around. It's almost
Wow.
not to total a truck at
I
that
bet
point.
that was scary.
Yeah, but our insurance company
We had great insurance.
paid us. We put
We
about
rented. Well, wait. This is the difference of like talking about drivers. We had jackknifed our truck. We had a hot load going to Washington. It was
we were hauling parts for PACCAR actually to the renting plant for Kenworth.
So we totaled the truck. We didn't know it was totaled at that point. We rented a truck in Denver. The everything was still closed because
The freeway
of
for all closed.
the storm. So we were able to rent a truck, and right when it opened up, we were able to pick up our trailer and deliver our load.
We delivered on time
up to
Seattle
Seattle.
after totaling our truck. But the point was, what I was trying is that the insurance company, we had a really good insurance company. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but they actually paid us. We put over 650,000 miles on that truck
God.
since we bought it, and they wrote us a check for the amount we bought the truck for.
Stop.
Oh,
It was the
wow.
best thing that could have possibly happened to us.
Wow. That's
No,
cool.
that part would have been no if this opportunity had happened, and I could have started the business then versus getting into another truck.
Yeah, then of course we took and we paid cash. We put most of the money, took all that money, put it into another truck. But we could have taken all that cash and just kept it if we were.
Probably gonna get a lot of DMs after the show there, Craig.
Actually, they don't offer what we.
Well,
had.
no, actually, we had.
Did
It was.
they? I don't know.
We had towing coverage. We had
We had
everything. We'd break down, and it was like starter is out. I was out solo, broke down up near Knoxville. 110 miles from home, 120 miles from home, and I could do roadside service and get someone to replace my starter. It wasn't the starter. It was the starter of the truck, and but it was cheaper at a $250 deductible for towing up to $5,000.
Wow.
So I just had a tow truck come pick us up, take it to my shop here in Chattanooga. It was cheaper than calling road service.
Just kind of
And
like
how long were you guys driving before? Because usually when you think of new drivers getting the CDL and insurance, you don't hear the word cheap.
Yeah.
So how long into your driving were you guys getting good deals on your insurance?
Well, we were leased on. See, we didn't have our own authority. We were leased on to farm.
So really-
Another carrier's authority.
We didn't have cargo insurance. That was through our carrier.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So we had our bobtail insurance. So
Gotcha.
yeah,
That makes sense.
it made a huge difference, honestly.
Yeah.
And to the point, we were paying like $350 a month.
Oh,
So
that's
we're blessed.
yeah. Yes.
Really. I mean, everything with our trucking life, actually, even when bad things happened, It was like, there was always something good out of it.
And bad things. I mean, we blew a fuel line, a metal fuel line on the engine, which and it split. And we were in Louisiana in August. It was 97 degrees with I don't know how high the humidity was.
Oh my God.
And of course, we couldn't idle the truck. We never put an APU on the truck because we were a team and we never sat, right? And we talked about it a number of times, but we never did it.
Yeah.
And this was the one day
it
would have been worth the $12,000.
It was the worst moment of my life.
Yeah,
probably one of the most.
I mean, we're sitting in Louisiana, and it took 6 hours for a tow truck to get to us, and it was just.
Oh my.
So
Good.
stuff like that happens,
Yeah.
So.
I've never been so miserable in my life, and the dogs were miserable. So it was like we actually walked over to. We were on an off ramp, and we walked over to a convenience store to try to get ice.
About a bag of
so
ice.
that we could just keep putting it in and put towels and just keep it around the neck, and it was a brutal day.
Miserable. Oh wow, that stinks.
But she was always our secret weapon. This is the thing. When we were starting out, especially with our blog, we had a lot of people who went. We had a lot of people went to. I didn't even know about their referral program. I wish I'd known. I would have made thousands of dollars. But we had a lot of people who went to U.S. Express because we did. Because our blog, we went to U.S. Express a lot. And they would call us. We'd actually over and over again. We'd be somewhere. We were up in this truck stop in Connecticut.
This was
And I go to the restroom and I come out and Ann's she's going to go to the counter and ask about a restaurant up the street. Is it any good? And I come out and it's like 5 minutes. She's still talking to this girl. It's not the same girl. And I walk up and I said, "You're just talking about a restaurant." She goes, "Oh no." This girl had walked up to Ann and said, "Is your name Ann?"
our blog.
Because she follows our blog. And this happened to us a bunch of times. We were going out to dinner in Dallas, and this couple, just kind of says, "Are you guys Craig and Ann?" And we ended up having dinner with them, and it was freaky. It was freaky as hell they're very, very good friends now. But we were like, because we had no filters on our blog. We would talk about everything that was going on in our lives and stuff. So we're sitting there at dinner. We don't remember their names, and they're talking about our kids by name.
Oh wow!
Our daughter Shelby had just had her wisdom teeth out. She goes, "So how's Shelby doing?" And
I was just like,
we're looking at each other like, "Oh my god!"
So creepy.
The only time I thought maybe we talked too much, and that's when we changed our tracking, so
you couldn't see where we actually were because we had tracking on our website.
It kind of freaked me out a little bit.
But he was, and this is what. When we started out, we'd get these guys who were struggling. And this is the thing about trucking. And we saw this over and over and over again. These guys, they go out and they spend, let's say they go to a private school and spend $5,000 to get their CDL. Or $3,000, even, whatever.
Whatever.
And I think we probably spent $5,000. I don't know. I don't remember. But then they go out with a trainer for, 8 weeks with some guy they don't know living in a truck. And they finally get their own truck, and they're sent out, and they don't know anything yet. They just don't. What they don't. It was fortunate we were both trained totally different. So when I didn't know something she did, she got trained better than I did, without a doubt.
I did.
And I was on a dedicated run, which didn't teach me much of anything.
I just learned how to back because I was in a lot of snowstorms.
And she never learned how to back, by the way.
Actually, not better. Not better. I know how to back.
She does know.
She
just hated.
As soon as it goes into reverse, the curtain would pop up, and he goes, "You want me to back?" No lie. That is not a lie.
You can't see anything. You don't know what's going on. You're waiting for the crunch.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Yeah, right.
And so, but we get these. We talk, and I saw this. I cannot tell you how many times I'd see this happen. Where after 3 or 4 weeks out solo, after everything they've gone through and all the time and money they put into it, they quit. You have 3 bad days in a row. Because what happens in trucking, especially for a solo driver, is that you never get away from work. When you have a bad day at work and you go to an office at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock, you go home, and then you talk to your wife or husband about what a crappy day you had.
Drink,
you watching TV, whatever, and that day ended. In a truck, it never ends. You go to bed at work, you wake up at work. And it just snowballs and it gets worse and worse every day. And there's no real easy solution to it, especially for we could bounce stuff off each other, and I'd be crazy and she'd be fine. And she was always my secret weapon, our secret weapon. I cannot tell you. I used to tell these drivers when I'd be talking to them on the phone. I said, don't ever be the next asshole. They're company drivers, right?
Oh, I'm going to tell him. I'm going to ream him.
The guy in breakdown doesn't want your truck broken. He's trying to find a solution. Payroll didn't mean to leave a load off. They can't keep that money. That person in payroll doesn't get a commission on what they don't pay you. I said, so make a joke. Always don't. They've been screamed at all day long by everybody. Be different. Nobody wants to help somebody that's screaming at them. They just want to get them off the phone. So make them want to help you. Make a joke about this is the third time we actually broke down in Grand Prairie, Nebraska. North Platte, Nebraska.
Oh my God, I had a load
we literally
going to North Platte too.
3 FedEx loads in a row. We were company drivers. It was when DPF was brand. It was when the DPF filters were brand new. The DEF, not DPF filters, the diesel emissions.
Right.
Was
The DEF. Right.
Yeah. The 2012 it was like early 2011, but of course Freightliner already had the 2012s out. We had a brand new. It had 200 miles on it when we got it. Brand new Freightliner Cascadia. And on our first run cross country, it all of a sudden just died.
Oh
and,
no!
You know, red lights come
and
on.
we had to stay in a hotel in North Platte
for 3 days in the winter. This was in February, and so a hotel in February for 3 days. And then then when Freightliner said we fixed it, I said, "What was wrong?" He says, "Well, I don't know. That tube was clogged with all this, stuff." I said, "So you didn't fix it. You fixed the symptom, not the problem. Why was it clogged? I don't know."
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
And so, like a week later, we're on another FedEx load across Nebraska, and we're literally just past North Platte, and and all of a sudden everything died.
I had to go back to North Platte, get towed.
Yeah. Anyway,
stay in a hotel.
The third time we actually were past North Platte, past Ogallala, and it started to derate. And Ann says, "I'm not." She's driving. She goes, "I'm not stopping in Nebraska." We looked into Wyoming.
I got into Wyoming and literally pulled into the way station because you have to go through the way station as you enter Wyoming. And I had to go. I came out and I was like, we had the red light. I'm like, I can't drive. And so they come and tow us. And
at the time, we lived in Fort Collins, Colorado, which is just 40 miles south of.
Okay.
Yeah, and so our son came up and picked us up.
Breakdown.
So when you guys first started, you had 8 weeks with a trainer, correct?
I think with U.S. Express, it wasn't that much. And some of the big, I think it was 150 hours behind the wheel.
Okay, so after that, whatever the training period was, did you guys use any other sources to learn the industry, or was it all as you went, you learned?
That, and also we had a lot of mentors. We ended up having drivers that had driven for a really long time who gave us a lot of good advice. And Craig, as you said, does a lot of research, so he would be doing that. We'd be talking
and that was on
to
online
people,
forums,
all the forums.
Truckers Report.
The difference is, you get these people who get all stirred up and just, about something. And Craig he's like, why? And I'm way more emotional than, well, that's not true actually. But in many ways, he cries at commercials.
Baseball.
Baseballs. Anything with baseball. And I think, and that was it. And also we just, talking to different people, our blog really helped. We also learned
a lot of dialogue.
A lot of dialogue, a lot of different, and people from different, what word I want, areas, branches. I can't think of the word I want. That had all different, we had from owner operators to people at U.S. Express that we talked to, our fleet managers. My trainer, I, would call and talk to and ask questions and stuff. And
it helped that we booked our own loads. I've been in sales my whole life, and every time you pick up a phone, it's a sales call. Whether you're calling breakdown or payroll, even as a company driver, it's a sales call. Right? Or so it's there's all and now with dispatch, calling brokers, the same thing. And trying to everybody needs to win. It's kind of the way you have to approach it. And so that's just that's it. But it was so funny. We went to Seattle a lot because my family's in Seattle, and then Seattle's a horrible market to get out of. But we'd be going there for a week, and we pull in, and we were always early, maybe a day early. Anyway, I walk in and they say, "Well, we're going to unload. It's 5:00 in the afternoon, and we're going on a week's vacation from here, right?" And they say, "Well, we'll unload you. Unloading starts at 6 a.m. So we're going to sit in this parking lot now for 13 hours waiting." So then Ann gets out to go to the bathroom. She walks in, and before she gets back, I feel the forklift hitting off the dock. They're unloading this. She goes in and bats her eyes and said, "Oh,
no, I said this. No,
go to see
it
my
is
farm."
not. It's like I'd be like, oh my god, I can't believe this. As soon as we're empty, we're going on vacation. I can't believe it. And they'd be like, "Oh, I'll unload you," or
That's so cool.
and that happened a lot. It did happen a lot. So, but also they weren't used to. They're used to drivers coming in and yelling at them, I think there are more women
And
now.
dudes.
A lot of guys. I mean, I'd walk into them and they'd be like, treat me like a sales call. And I was like, oh, no, I'm here to, I need to get unloaded. And they're like, you're a driver? And I'm like, yeah,
No big deal.
With our clients, we tell them that too. It's just, just losing your temper is just never going to work. It's just never going to work. It doesn't solve any problems.
Right. No, that's definitely facts right there.
Yeah.
And I got some great drivers who are just awesome at what they do, but I say, don't ever talk to the broker. If you got a problem, have me talk to the broker. Call me and I'll deal with it. Because you're angry. I don't want it's not, the broker doesn't mean this to happen. Usually the broker isn't intending this to happen. Brokers
There are a lot, same, brokers lie, drivers lie. I mean, there are a lot of good people in this business.
Yes. I agree.
Now, there's some cases where, brokers can beg to differ. They'll say that, they are the customer service when it comes between the carrier and the shipper. And, then there's carriers like you in your instances, where you're like, hey, I can provide the full service to you guys direct. I can provide that customer service.
Aaron, I never knew until I was a broker. I had no idea what most truck drivers were. And most is probably a mistake. That's not that. But how so many truck drivers were like. I mean, it was shocking to me from the other side of the desk because we used to get so angry when a broker would tell us, "You got to be there by 3." And then we get there and we walk in and says, "Your appointment's 6." Because they're lying. And I said, "Dude, tell me what time." I busted my ass last night driving all night. I started to get. I don't drive tired. But I stopped for a 15-minute nap because we had to be here by 3 o'clock.
By 3 a.m. Yeah.
Right? I had 3 extra hours in the schedule, but I didn't realize that they have to do that because most drivers, if we told them it was 3, they'd show up at 6. No, that's not fair, but it's a lot. We see it. We see it from our side.
I see it a lot.
I certainly saw it when I was working as a broker. It was crazy. They would lie about where they were. I'm 20 miles from pickup. You put them on macro, they're 140 miles from. And it's just they're rolling now. What are you gonna do, right? So
that's really cool that you guys have both perspectives. Well, actually, you guys have 3 perspectives now: drivers, dispatchers, and brokers. That's a pretty cool. That's a pretty cool perspective to have, so that you can have an understanding of each side, really.
Yeah.
Well, the problem we have as a dispatching company is that it's just a really negative connotation of dispatching companies. We didn't start doing this, but most of our competition has certainly never been in a truck. I was talking, actually one of our employees, I was talking to her about hours of service the other day, right? And I said, do you understand that most of our people that, when we talk about our people who are competing with us to be dispatchers, they don't understand service. They don't, they'll book the load. Most of them they're usually on commission. They get a percentage. We don't do a percentage, we're flat. Because I don't want to be involved in the profitability of the company. My job is to make you as much money as possible. I don't want to cut of what you make. And so, but I understand also this load won't work because he can't make this delivery, get to that pickup, and make that delivery
legally.
Right.
You still get from brokers, and I don't know where they think they're getting this from. Why most trucks are now on e-logs. And I heard yesterday somebody said this is for a team or a strong solo. You mean an illegal solo? That's what you mean. Somebody who's going to unplug the logs and run. That's what they mean by strong solo. And you still hear that, and it's crazy.
That's awful.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
It is. But
And what are you guys' thoughts on what's happening right now with these protests and everything? Because I'm hearing these drivers especially are on edge with everything going on. You got these people who are protesting or rioting that are unhooking their airlines from the tractors. There are
the protesters and the rioters. I do believe they're completely 2 different groups.
They definitely are 2 different groups. And you got the opportunists out there that are trying to flip this and do certain things. But
exploit the situation.
Right. So what's your guys' thoughts on everything that's going on and maybe opinion on what drivers should do out there to remain safe?
Yeah, I think that one of the things you have, an advantage, I think, a little bit, we were talking about this today, because we are talking about, we had a load to Washington, D.C., that she didn't take.
I didn't take it.
And like I said, it
And
depends on, they
that was why.
understand, usually, you know, shippers and receivers aren't in the heart of the city where most of this stuff is happening. LA's different because it's so spread out. There is no heart. You know, LA's a different animal. But we generally try to stay out on the east edge of town anyway, Ontario, you know, that area, you know, because that's honestly, that's so much of the freight is out there, and you don't have to deal with the traffic. We a lot of times we go into LA, we go into, you know, Ontario, deliver, pick up in Fontana, and get out without dealing with one bit of traffic because you're so far out of town. So you're not gonna, you know, so. And that's true with most cities, you know, where you know, you're going to be outside the Beltway. You know, Atlanta's a good example. Trucks aren't allowed inside the Beltway unless they're actually delivering into there, but that's unusual unless you're delivering food.
But I wouldn't send someone to, you know, I was looking at Minnesota loads, and I wasn't going to send someone up to Minnesota. Greg thinks, I think, was a little bit different. I'm probably a little more, I was seeing where, you know, they were on the freeways and stuff. So some of the big cities, I think luckily we didn't have to deal with really anybody having any problems, luckily.
That's good.
But knowing, you know, seeing what was happening was scary as a driver.
What we're trying to do, I think, is, you know, we haven't impacted very much from it, you know, to a large extent.
COVID-19 was way more disruptive.
Obviously way more disruptive at this point. Hopefully, and it does appear to be calming. The rioting part does appear. I don't believe the protesting part's going to end for a while, and it shouldn't.
No.
Honestly, you know, it was just pretty cool. One of our clients who we just dearly love. We really love this guy. He and his daughter were in a really big march 2 days ago in Houston, and his videos and stuff were just really cool to watch. And of course, I was scared for him. You know, I'm just thinking, you know, but it was 100% peaceful. It was a massive march. It was just really cool. But it's you know, so we're obviously thinking about it, but we're just, a lot of our stuff isn't big city stuff. You know, you're delivering, I'm looking at our board right now, you know, Charleston, South Carolina, you know, Conyers, Georgia, which is outside of Atlanta,
New Orleans,
Greenville, South Carolina, you know,
Houston,
Jackson, Mississippi. So, and again, none of that stuff's going into the city. It's going to be somewhere on the outside edge. Usually. You know, we will tell any of our drivers, you know, you just don't ever. I mean, just no load is worth your life. No load is worth being hurt. You know, we felt secure in the truck. You know, one of the problems in trucking, I don't know how people feel about, you know, Second Amendment stuff, but you know, there is no there's very few states that reciprocate as far as concealed carry. And when you're in a truck, a lot of times you got to park a 70-foot vehicle. There's no parking at a truck stop. Who knows where you're parked, right? There's times you park on a dead end road somewhere.
Oakland.
Oh yeah, we were parked next to the Coliseum in Oakland
once,
Oakland, California, and there's like broken glass all around the ground. We see all people's car windows have been broken out here when you get out of the truck. You know, you say, we really don't want to be here. And well, we were at Walmart, and they came by, and the security came by. He says, "Man, you can't park here." And I said, "Oh, there's no sign." He says, "No, you can. I mean, you can park here. You don't want to be here after 10 o'clock at night."
Oh.
You know, Walmart security kind of thing. So I mean, I don't know, I should say this out loud or not, but I mean, we kept a gun in the truck, even though it wasn't legal. You know, because I'd rather go to jail for being caught with a gun in my truck than being in a situation where we couldn't defend ourselves in some dead end road somewhere.
Yeah, I know a few drivers that carry also. It's, you know, it's just,
unless you have a military load, that's the only thing you have to, you know, because they will search your truck and they will find. So,
but I can kick her out.
But I could actually get out of the truck and yeah.
The gun under purse, you know, something like that.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. I don't think many times that I was, there are times, I mean, Craig would never let me walk into a truck stop, you know, by myself.
In the middle of the night. You know,
I mean,
when we first started, I forget what, she got up without waking me up, and she's walking between, you know, it's wide between these trailers. It's pitch black, and she's walking through 3 rows of trucks to get to the bathroom, you know. And when she got back, I just lost my mind when she came back to the truck. I said,
I would never do it again. I will say, I'm an innie when it comes to some stuff, and you know, it's at truck stops, I'd be fueling, and Craig would be asleep, and
she got hit on I'd be laying in bed, and some dude would walk up every single
And just
time.
talk, you know.
Hey, how you
Very
doing?
nice. I mean, most
so
of them
she
are
immediately
super
say, well,
nice.
hey, you gotta keep it down. You're gonna wake my husband up.
Yeah.
You know, or something. You know.
There are some amazing human beings out there, and they're also, you know, there's a lot of drivers that are solo for a reason.
They have zero social skills.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's
That
not, it's not a condemnation. They just
No.
don't. That's just not a skill set they have. They're
Right.
good at driving a truck and that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. It's just they're alone all the time.
Oh, yeah.
We avoided the counter at in the truck
Oh my
stop.
God.
When you're
Or doing your
food.
laundry.
Yeah,
We would
getting-
do laundry and someone
get
would
trapped in the
corner
laundry
you
room.
and they want to talk. And
But they
you're
haven't
like,
talked to anybody in 3
I
days.
gotta go now. I would be that person if I hadn't had him. But you know, I had my headset and I would be talking to my friends when I was driving, or just a book, or anything to make the day go by. You know?
Right.
I think our experience with trucking is a lot different than other people's, but it's also because I think of the way we made it. Our personalities and what we did. We didn't, even when it was a bad situation, we'd always look for something to be good, or
And we made good money at it. We worked the spot market really hard. We would roll into LA on a Friday morning with an 8 o'clock delivery, and we wouldn't look at a load board until we bumped the dock. We weren't looking for a load out of LA until Friday. And you sit there and maybe it'd be noon and I'd be starting to get edgy. Oh, we should have taken that load we saw at 10 o'clock. And she'd go, Craig, the money happens at 3 o'clock. The money happens at 3 o'clock.
and sometimes it doesn't.
Sometimes it doesn't, but almost always it did. Almost always it did. We just made really good. I mean, we did really well because we knew how the spot market worked. We're looking for that solo load that was supposed to pick up 9 o'clock this morning, and the truck broke down. They're going to be there in 2 hours, and it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and now they can't get the guy to answer the phone. And now it's a team load, and we don't. And the budget doesn't matter now. I'm going to lose my client. The broker's saying I can't lose this client.
Right.
I do 100 loads a month for this guy, and I don't care what it costs me to deliver this load. I got to do it, and then we make darn good money. So that's
really cool. That's super cool. I'm interested to hear, and I'm going to ask a question, but I'm interested to hear, like, what are some of the best places you guys have ever traveled through or to?
Moab,
Utah
is one of the most beautiful
Montana.
places. Western Montana.
Montana. They're all different. Maine was gorgeous.
The Southwest. I mean, driving through, it's so starkly beautiful. You're driving through New Mexico and Arizona.
But then there's nothing.
I think even Bill from our last episode mentioned Utah first, also.
Yeah, he did.
Driving, we did a lot of loads for Freightliner from Portland, Oregon, down to Laredo. And you'd go, through Salt Lake and then through the back roads to cross down into Mexico, and you go right through Moab with Arches National Park on one side and Canyonlands National Park on the other. And it's just, we'd be really frustrated. And she used to hate Kansas. She'd say, "Oh my God, I hate Kansas. It's so boring." I said, honey, everything is 40 yards wide and 200 yards long to me. Mm-hmm. I don't care if it's Kansas or Montana. It's pitch black. Sometimes I'd be driving the other day and I'd see something. We'd drive by something. I'd say, "Did you see that?" She goes, "I see it like twice a week." I said, "You told me."
It's also really different depending on where you live. Like, I mean, I've lived on the East Coast and the West Coast. Greg was on the West Coast, and we were in Colorado. It was just gorgeous anyway. Mm-hmm. And also, it's like we delivered in the Outer Banks, and that was like seeing the dunes and stuff. It's kind of like, all right, that's really cool. Going Florida, I just there's just so many dang bugs.
Down there doing love bug season usually, because most time you can make money.
And literally, your whole window is black with these bugs, and you just can't. Every single truck stop that you go to, there's no water, and they've taken all the, it's just.
Did you guys go do any international loads, like down through Mexico or through Canada?
Well, when we were company drivers, we went to Montreal, and and actually that's how we hit Vermont the first time. Coming down out of Montreal, we came down through Vermont, and near Montpelier, we actually found this little cool place next to this creek to park our truck, and walked through the woods to this Applebee's for dinner. It was one night. It was just this beautiful romantic truck.
Minnesota, I think we were driving through. I forget where we were going, but I think we were going
You
to
talking about?
Oshkosh.
No,
And
no.
we went through Minnesota, and it was snowing, and I had to stop at a rest area because I had to go to use the restroom, and I had to get my dogs out, and that was the biggest thing is I need to find places to get my dogs out who are very little.
Yeah.
And the problem is I got out and I'm looking down, and there's like this paw print that's like this big, and I'm just like, I don't think a dog would. And I'm looking beautiful, and I couldn't go use the restroom because it literally, I thought any sort of slasher killer movie, the person was in the building. And I would freak myself out because I would just start thinking about stuff. I'd be like, oh.
Well, then I'd tease her. We blew a tire on the trailer once, and I was teasing her because she said, "This is really, this is in Texas. It was dark. It was dark out and kind of windy. It's just really middle of
I
nowhere."
ran back to the truck with my
and
dog.
she went to the restaurant, and she came back. She goes, "Oh, it's just scary out there." I said, "Oh, come on." So the guy who was a TA service guy, I think, he shows up with his truck, and he's out there, and he goes, "Man, this is really creepy out here."
Because you guys aren't going to leave me out. No, he said, you're not going to leave me out here by
You're alone, are
myself.
you?
And I was like, see?
Oh, wow.
So funny.
Also, it's like, our truck, like, I mean, it was kind of funny. We did a video at one point because our truck was color coordinated, and I had pillows, and I had floor mats. I mean, we had floor mats, and it was dialed in. We had our Keurig coffee maker. We had, everything that you would need to
We go to visit people, and we actually stay. Sometimes, we'd stay in the truck if the weather was nice. We'd have to idle it because we were so much more comfortable in the truck than we hardly ever got a hotel room. It was pretty rare. One time in Laredo because we were spending a long weekend there, and we wanted a pool. But honestly, we just almost never got a hotel room. Well,
it's just easier, people would come. Go do stuff.
You got a fridge in there. You got a TV. Some have microwaves, but.
Yep. We had literally everything, and people ask me, how did you set up your truck? And, we had a freezer. One of our trucks, we actually had a freezer on the top bunk, and we would go get all sorts of stuff, to keep frozen because we didn't like eating in truck stops. It's just,
the food's bad. I mean, it's good tasting food unless you're in New Orleans. The food's bad.
Yeah, New Orleans, I will definitely. There are places I miss, and I miss like going through the South and getting crawfish, and going through Maryland and getting crab.
Nick's Barbecue in Carlisle, Arkansas.
And almost all the good barbecue places. I miss. And then every year we would go to Seattle for our anniversary. And we go to Friday Harbor, which is up in the Anacortes and San Juan Islands. And last year we didn't go. We had just started, we started the business. And so actually we're going this year. And it's the first time that we're actually flying to Seattle because
somebody's paid us to go there.
We've always gone before, dropped the truck and gone to see his family. And
that did really suck last spring, just over a year ago.
We used to go to spring training.
We had spring training in Arizona every year. We go every year spring training. And I actually had a guy who had front row tickets that we bought from him once, and I kept his contact number. We call him every year.
Every year we go back.
Right at the dugout, right on the dugout, Mariners dugout.
You get him every year?
Every year.
And we go.
Awesome.
Sometimes
he had 6, and so if we're going to be there for any length of time, we'd pick a game we could do it. So it was pretty cool.
It was cool.
Took my whole family once too.
Yeah.
My whole family.
So you guys couldn't even go this year then, huh?
Well, there is no spring training ended.
Yeah. That sucks. That's a bummer. That's a bummer.
But it was but seriously, it was. But we
were
had
there
to get
last year.
Last year, actually had a wedding
2 years.
in
2 years.
We had a wedding in April last year.
Matiana,
anyway, but we just gotten out of the truck, and we had to actually buy airline tickets.
That's true. I forgot about that.
It was our first family event. We had to actually buy airline tickets to go to.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Wow.
It really
cool.
It really did. It was yeah. So now we have to take planes places
instead of the truck.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's awesome.
Well, I know we're getting close to our time here, but there's one question I want to ask you guys for those if there's a couple out there, or a team in general that looks like they want to get into the industry and start driving. What's some of the stuff that you would recommend? What's something that you would recommend that they do, the route that they take in order to properly tackle this?
Yeah.
Dream.
First of all, I would have them go read our blog. It's long, but I would have them go read our blog because it really chronicles step by step what we went through and how we did it. And
the things you don't know.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah, if
great.
you don't mind, where can they find your blog?
It's AnnandCraigLeonard.com. Ann with an E. A-N-N-E and Craig Leonard, Leonard.com. And
Perfect. Yeah, we'll link it in our in the video so that way it's easily accessible.
But other than that, I think that there's most of the big mega companies, they suck, man. They just suck, and they
But
don't.
it's also what you make of
they
it.
all have over 100% turnover, and now understand that most of that turnover is happening in the first 3-4 months. I mean, again, so they're basically churning through all their most of their new drivers don't make it. Most of them. It's hard. So.
Yeah.
And it's not easy for, like you said, for a team to be, if you're talking about a husband and wife, girlfriend and boyfriend, to be in a
60
small,
square foot apartment.
and also you have to trust that person with your life because they're driving you, and if there's ever an issue and for some reason, we had a, probably way too long for the story, really quick. We were in Kansas. We had a blowout on our tire, steer tire. And we'd heard about steer tires blowing, but I never knew. And I was asleep in the back, and we went across a whole bunch of lanes of Arkansas, above, and I thought we were. I
was driving. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning. Luckily, no traffic around. And the left front steer tire, just no warning, just exploded.
So you dropped.
And that aluminum rim hits the asphalt and digs in and just pulls the truck hard left.
Ooh.
So
and it literally cut a groove in the asphalt. And I got lucky, honestly. We weren't that. We've been trucking for probably less than a year. We were company drivers, and somebody had told me, when that happens, don't slam on the brakes. You got to hit the gas to get the weight off that tire to lift that out of that groove. And I just did it, and I never really no thinking really involved, honestly. And luckily there was nobody. We were on an empty freeway, middle of the night, and I was in the right-hand lane, and I went over the fog line. I was right along the grass, on the median in the middle. When I got it straight, and then pulled it back over to the right and stopped. In the back, because when it hit, the truck was bouncing like crazy. It was doing this. He thought we'd gone off the road. You have no spatial awareness in the back. Closed. And so she thought we'd actually gone off the road, and maybe we're tipping over even. It kind of feels like that. You just don't know. And so and we were going home to Colorado. We lived in Colorado. We were on a FedEx load. So once we got home, we dropped the trailer, bobtailed home, and then we were home for 4 or 5 days. But on the third night, middle of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning, I wake up and she's sobbing.
I'd never been so scared.
She hadn't said a word about it. She said it was scary, but she hadn't really said anything about it. But if we had like 5 days off, I think that would have been the end of our trucking. I don't think she would have gotten back in the truck.
And that's it. So, and that was the biggest thing. It's like when I got back in the truck is every bump, you're like, oh my gosh, what's that? Oh my gosh.
Right.
And then finally you calm down enough, but it's a real learning experience and being with, I think my biggest suggestion to someone is, find a mentor in this business that you can talk to, because it really can save you in so many ways, even
and we'll talk all day. Seriously, all day long. And there were 2 or 3 really good friends, but there's also all kinds of new drivers because we would give out our contact information from our blog. They would email us, and I'd say, give us a call, and they'd call usually during the day. So they'd talk to her, and she would just
the women would talk to me, and the men would talk to Craig. Is really how it works. So
That makes sense.
Yeah, and it's just it's a great business. I mean,
for us, it was.
It really was.
It could be brutal if you did, but it's about attitude. It's really about attitude.
Yeah.
It is like you said. It is what you make of it.
Right.
It can be the most miserable thing you've ever been. I mean, we were stuck in Utah, St. George, Utah, a canceled load, and it could have been just horrible, But we were like, all right, let's go let's get a rental car. We had that's when Enterprise would come pick you up. Pick us up, and we go and
In-N-Out Burger.
Go,
St. George.
yeah, and then you go and find something to do,
Right.
It's like, oh my god, and sometimes we did. Just depended on.
I think we day headed to Vegas, as I recall.
Maybe.
Oh man! All right, guys. Well, you guys have been a huge, huge pleasure.
Yes, we thank you so much. We thank you so much for joining us today, and we're excited to hear more stories from you guys later on in the future, and hopefully we can have you guys back on so we can hear more.
Yeah.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Ashley. We
Thank you
appreciate
so
it.
much.
Of course, yes. Well, thank you everybody for watching this Truckin' Life today. We were joined by Ann and Craig. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us along this fun journey. Have a good day, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you.